Hi, I'm Claudia Brown Coulter with Pivotal Peace. I'm your go-to mediator for navigating divorce while parenting children with special needs. I am also a registered legal document assistant, LDA, based in the greater Los Angeles area. I want to talk to you about your petition. This is one of the most important forms in your divorce because it starts your divorce. Now, we're going to walk through this. I'm not going to share my screen. I actually have the forms printed out because I want to show you the actual forms in real life, because if you go down to the courthouse, they're going to hand you papers. What you need to know is the petition is not the only thing you will need. You will need at least one other form, and depending on if you have kids and your county, 2 or 3 additional forms. But your main form for your divorce to start it is your petition. It's 3 pages long. Okay. It's the FL-100. We know that this is the form. It's right here in the top corner, the FL-100. So, the very top, you need to put your name. You don't have an attorney, so you're not going to put a firm name. You're going to put your address. You are going to put your cell phone number or your home number. You're going to put your email address. And then when it says attorney for, you can put pro per, you can put self-represented, right? Because we didn't have an attorney. Now, you need to figure out what court you're filing at. Courts, I like LA's version. LA, on their website, you put in your zip code and it'll tell you, depending on where you're filing, this court is for this court is for unlawful detainer, this court's for family law, this court's for this. They will tell you. Other courts, like San Bernardino, you have to read a long chart. Oof. That one's a little confusing. But you have to figure out what court. So the county of, you put your county and then the court's address. Then you need to put your name and your spouse's name and decide, are we using first and last name? Are we using first, middle initial, last name? First name, middle name, last name? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because whatever you do here, you have to do on all the forms, because at the end they'll get rejected. All right, so, and then are you doing a divorce, a dissolution, or a legal separation? Let's not talk about getting things annulled. It's not as easy as they make it sound in the movies. And then, is it a marriage or a domestic partnership? I got to tell you, if you are married and a domestic partnership, you need to check both those boxes. You know if that's you or not. If it's not, yeah. You did not get married on the same day you became registered domestic partners. No. That didn't happen. Okay, so you put we are married or we are registered domestic partners. You have to fulfill a residency requirement. So who lives in the county, you've got to make sure you check that off. And then you have to put your date of marriage and your date of separation. And then you have to calculate. You have to add up the years and you have to add up the months so that they know how many years and how many months long your marriage was. Now, the date of separation is important. How do I know when the date of separation is? It could be when you knew your marriage was over. It could be when you communicated to your spouse or your spouse communicated to you, I want a divorce. It could be when you moved out and you never, ever acted like a married couple from that day forward. And you know all of the implications of what I mean, like acting like a married couple. You do none of that. So, or it can just be today's date, the day you fill out the paper. People fight about the date of separation. So if you have a clear date of separation, put it down. If you're unclear, do your best and expect to have conversations about it. You need to list your kids. Can you please spell your kids' names right? One time, this woman, she got served and then she wrote back in the service package, I'm not signing this form because he doesn't even know how to spell our kid's name correctly. I mean, in his defense, it wasn't like a common name, but spell it correctly, double check. And don't be careful with transposing numbers. Your child might be, his birthday might be 5/4, but you put on the forms 4/5. So you need to put things in American date format. So if their birthday is May 4th, you need to put 5/4, not 4/5, because that sounds like April 5th. Can you tell I've seen that? Yes, I have. Now, there's a little box down here, okay? There's a, right above it, it says you got to do the 105. If you got minor kids, you got to do the 105. So you got that extra form to do. But there's a box here. You're supposed to check it. If it says petitioner and respondent signed a voluntary declaration of parentage or paternity. Attach a copy if available. You know what that means? That means you weren't married when your child was born. That's okay. We ain't got time over here to judge you. We're not judging you. We just want to make sure that your paperwork doesn't get rejected on the back end. So if your date of marriage is 2021, but your child was born in 2017, you need to check this box. In almost all hospitals in California, they're going to bring out, they call it a POP deck, like dad, he's POP, in deck, like declaration. They're going to bring that out. It's a voluntary declaration of paternity or parentage, but you know, like if the baby just came out of her, probably her baby, right? It's for unmarried couples. If you're married, you ain't got to sign nothing. Don't sign that. Paternity is presumed under marriage. So sign it. You need a copy of that. If you didn't sign that, but you have their birth certificate, is not actually the declaration of paternity, but attach it on there. You can talk about it again in the final step, but attach it on there, because chances are your spouse isn't like, that's not my kid. You're married. You got married. Okay. Next, you have to put your names here again. You don't have a case number, so you're going to leave that blank. And then you have to list what kind of divorce we're doing. We're doing a divorce, and it's irreconcilable differences. Now, you might want to mark that your ex is crazy, and they have a permanent legal incapacity to make decisions because you've decided that they're crazy, but they're actually not. Don't check that. You're just going to check irreconcilable differences. Custody. Think about this before you check it. A lot of times it's joint. I see arguments when people put like just petitioner or just respondent. And not if the petitioner is filling it out and they put sole custody to respondent. That means they had a conversation, they know. But if the petitioner is filling it out and they're like, no, I want it all. I caution people, y'all have a conversation about that? You might want to do that, okay? We don't need to start a fight. Child support is usually left blank. It's solved later. Spousal or domestic partner support. Spousal support, alimony. Each of you needs a box checked. So what's going to happen with the petitioner? Are you going to be receiving it from your spouse? Or are you going to be terminating it and you're never going to get it? Or are you going to reserve it because you might need it in the future? And then you need to check the same box for what you want to see for your spouse. Are they going to be getting it? Maybe you are the breadwinner and you know you're going to have to pay spousal support. You're like, I'm not even going to fight this. I'm going to check respondent's going to get spousal support, and I'm going to terminate my right to spousal support, because how could they pay me support if I'm paying them support, right? Okay. Now, property, separate property comes up here a lot. And then we have community property at the top of the page. Here's problems that I see. 1, people say, no, we don't have any separate property. We don't have any community property. For the most part, there is separate property. Unless you've been married a really, really long time, you got separate property. And even if you've been married a really, really, really long time, your inheritance, that's considered separate property. Hopefully you didn't commingle it. If gifts, that's your separate property. The retirement earnings that you earned before you were married is your separate property. You've been separated for a couple of years, that retirement earnings you earned after your date of separation, that's your separate property. Community property. Sometimes people say, no, we don't have community property. Usually, it's folks who have been separated for so long, sometimes 10 years, they really don't have community property anymore. They've divided everything. They don't want anybody's retirement, so they don't have any community property. Okay. One of the problems I see with the property sections here, number 9 and number 10 here at the top of this page, people are very, very specific. This petition should go really, really fast for you. They're very specific and they want to list everything out. Here is the problem with that. This is going to be the only time I tell you in divorce to be vague. Be vague. Because if you list your 1983 Volkswagen Bug, did they make him in 1983? Probably. Maybe you have a nice chrome engine. I don't know. I don't know cars. I don't know. But you list it here as community property, but then it gets totaled or it gets sold, or you decide to give it away to your daughter for a graduation gift or something. I don't know. And then you don't mention it in your divorce decree because you don't have it anymore. Your judgment is going to be rejected because you very clearly said you had this and then you didn't mention it here. So this is the only time I'm going to tell you to be vague. You can be specifics in step 2 when we do your financial disclosures, but be vague here, right? Like you can research it and figure it out later. I reserve the right to amend anything I owned or got before we were married or after the date of separation or by gift or inheritance. That's my separate property. Anything I acquired or incurred debt during the marriage, that's our community property. I can amend this, right? Like your student loans, probably your separate property because you get to leave with that education. Okay. And then as you wrap up, it's going to ask other requests. Attorney's fees. Who's going to pay your attorney's fees? If you are paying for a mediator or a legal document assistant, those are not attorneys. If you're paying for an online service, that's not an attorney. Attorney's fees are about the attorney. And then, do you want your name restored? Not do you want a whole new name? Not do you want to create a new identity? Do you want your former name restored? What do you want it to be? And then you sign and date. Review it. Make sure the names are correct. This should be the fastest step in your divorce. Summons, pretty quick. UCCJEA, put the information about where your kids have lived for the last 5 years. If there's a local form like there's in Los Angeles, you're just marking down that this is the right court for you to file in. Step 1 is the fastest, easiest step. It shouldn't take you too long. You can do this. Call me if you need help.